and all, welcome to another instalment from the channel that is Jono's Graveyard Jaunts. If you are enjoying the content of the channel so far, can I please ask you to like, subscribe, comment in the comment section below and hit the notification button, either bell icon, which lets you as the viewer know when I'm next uploading to YouTube. Now, subscribe to the channel does not cost anything, it just helps the channel to grow and means we can venture further afield to produce ever more content for you as the viewer. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about an iconic band from the 1970s that were formed in Leicester. Specifically, today's video is about the bass player who was part of the original lineup and remained with the group for 35 years until 2008 when he retired from the band. Now, the person who features in today's video is a man known by his stage name of Al James, but whose real name was Jeffrey Betts. He was a bass player with the band Showaddywaddy when they were formed in 1973. Now, Showaddywaddy are a rock and roll group from Leicester, England, and they are still going to this present day, but not in the original lineup. They specialise in revival hits from the 1950s and early 1960s, whilst also issuing original material. Showaddywaddy in turn spent 209 weeks on the UK singles charts and had 10 top 10 singles, with one reaching number 1. Now, the band had various hits, including the Eddie Cochran 60s classic 3 Steps to Heaven, which reached number 6 in the UK charts in 1975, and they also had a number 1 hit with Under the Moon of Love, which topped the UK charts for 3 weeks in 1970s. In today's video, I shall visit the Fossway pub in Leicester, where Showaddywaddy were formed after the amalgamation of two bands in September of 1973 who were called Choice and the Hammers. I shall also visit the Western pub in Leicester, where Dave Bartram, who was the original singer with the band Showaddywaddy, had a Q&A session upstairs on the 1st of November 2013 after resigning as the band's frontman and becoming their manager in that year, a position which he still occupies to this present day. And finally, I shall visit the final resting place of Jeffrey Betts, aka Al James, at the St John's Baptist Church in the village of Bilston, Leicestershire. Showaddywaddy started out by playing gigs in pubs across Leicestershire and went on to have great success, with 10 singles reaching the top 10 in the UK charts. Now, Showaddywaddy in turn won one of the TV programmes New Faces in November of 1973, which was a series on ATV in the 1970s and 80s in the UK. So this was formerly called the Fossway pub, and this is where Choice and the Hammers used to practice, and where they decided, due to their similar musical taste, to form Showaddywaddy in 1973. It's now called Indigo. It's a restaurant, but it was called the Fossway pub, then it became the Speedway Hotel, and I'll put some old pictures up as a reference so you can see how the building's evolved to its current use of that of a restaurant. It's on Melton Road or on the outskirts of the city of Leicester.
Both bands, the Hammers and Choice, played the Fossway pub in Leicester and soon discovered they had shared musical tastes.
So you can see why they decided to practice here. So this was the origins of Showaddywaddy in 1973. This is where it all started.
And after playing together in jamming sessions, they joined together permanently and Showaddywaddy was born. And this led to an 8-member band with the unusual feature of having 2 vocalists, 2 drummers, 2 guitarists and 2 bassists. The band's first professional gig was at the Dreamland Ballroom in Margate, Kent on the 1st of September 1973. Now, bassist Al James, whose real name was Jeffrey Betts, died in hospital on Friday, November the 16th, 2018, 3 weeks after falling at his Market Harbour home. He was just 72 years old. Lead singer Dave Bartram left Showaddywaddy on the 3rd of December 2011, 3 years after Al James left, after 38 years fronting the band, and his last gig was at the King's Hall Theatre in Ilkley, West Yorkshire.
It's sad time for me after 38 years in one of Europe's top rock and roll bands to be moving on. But it's been an absolute blast. It's been absolutely fantastic. And these guys are going to keep the name well and truly alive.
Yeah,
and thanks to everybody. You've been absolutely fantastic.
And just remember, Dave's moved from the mic, but he's going to be at our desk. Okay?
The mic to the desk.
So he's still there. He's still with us, but in a different place.
Thanks everybody, truly. But God bless you.
So this is the Western Public House, once the focal point of the West End, and this is where Dave Bartram had a Q&A session on the 1st of November 2013, and he'd left as the frontman from Showaddywaddy at this point, having been in the band from the outset, a 40-year period. And there's the original entrance there on the corner, and it's now around the side, but many years ago that's where you used to go in, and it was the focal point of the West End about 25-30 years ago, so it's the place to be. And this is the West End of Leicester, and the pub is called the Western. And this is the back of the Western, and there used to be a stairwell leading up to the upper floor, and that's where Dave would have his Q&A session. There was a pool table there. It's not there anymore, but it used to be. If you see where that, where it says the Western, that's where the stairwell used to be, and you used to go upstairs to the pool room, and that's where he had the Q&A session. So I had a look around the churchyard at Bilsden Baptist Church, and there are old graves, and there are no new graves, so Al James, Geoffrey Betts is not buried there. There's also an overspill cemetery, which is about half a mile away, which I went to, and again I've looked for Geoffrey Betts' grave, and it's not there. There's no marker, so I don't know if he was cremated or indeed buried. There's no public record. I've been on Deceased online and find a grave, so sadly we couldn't find his grave or his marker, so I apologise for that, guys, but I'm assuming that the family obviously want those details private and not in the public domain.
Former Showaddywaddy frontman Dave Bartram told BBC News that Al James was a great mate and I love the guy to bits. Dave also added, and I quote, "He was a talented musician and songwriter, a great character and a great asset to the band right until he left in 2008, end of quote." Also, again in quotes, he was a very popular guy and he was Mr. Rock and Roll of the band, end quote. Now, Showaddywaddy have continued to tour and still do around 100 dates a year in the UK and Europe. Now that concludes the video, guys. Thank you for watching. If you've got any recommendations for videos, please put them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.